What's up, guys? Back here at the Autohaus, and Merry Christmas to everybody. This is going to be a review and install video for the Martelius Group A. So this is the current version of the Martelius Group A header. There's some notable differences to point out since this header was released. So first of all the Martelius headers, the Group A and the Group A XL, both come in stainless steel now. When the Group A header first came out, this #1 runner did not clear the oil filter and the sandwich plate. So if you watched my video where I converted an old Group A to the new style, you see they extended out this runner, and so that now it'll clear the factory oil filter and sandwich plate. Some other things to note: this factory US O2 sensor hole used to not be drilled out. You used to have to drill this out yourself, but now this is already pre-drilled for you, and that segues into what's included in the kit. So you have some slip fit springs to connect these two pipes to this guy, hardware for both mounting this to your cat. These are for the US O2 sensor. You have one block off bung, and that's if you want to run an AF, and then a block off for the O2 sensor, and then some gaskets. So this looks intimidating, but it's actually not. In this video we'll also walk you through the install of this header. Alright, we got the stock exhaust manifold out. I'm going to show you some tips about getting this thing out. So the Martelius header does not have a provision for EGR, so be careful if where you live has emissions inspection. So the EGR valve, you'll need a 24 mil on the exhaust manifold. There's 2 bolts there, and then 2 bolts there, so 5 bolts total. Leave this guy together. That's the easiest way to take this out, is all one piece. Again, this header is for off-road use only. So some other tips for taking out the header: you should not need to take the distributor out. Leave that thing plugged in. Just take the cap and rotor off. If you look right there, I disconnected the steering shaft. On the rack itself, make 2 marks to make sure this is in the same orientation, and then the orientation between this and the U-joint stay the same. You want to make sure the wheels never turn. I have something to hold the steering wheel in place. The other way you can do it, you can grab the seat belt and then wrap it in through the steering wheel and clip it in. I'm not able to do it on this car, but a lot of other cars, this is also a good tip to keep the steering wheel locked in one place in case you don't have a steering wheel holder. So the reason I disconnected that steering shaft, if you look at the factory manifold, this part, the secondary part's really fat, and this is where you're gonna have a hard time with this heat shield. So especially on a power steering car, you're probably gonna have to disconnect that universal joint. I'm pretty sure this can stay connected and the Martelius header can be installed, so I'm gonna reconnect that. I'm going to clean up the mating surface for the exhaust manifold and then put a new gasket on there. Alright, so the Martelius header comes in multiple pieces. The #1 and 4 runner go on first. And I just have the 2 end bolts just snugged down. I'll do the final torque once I have all the runners installed. Again, you don't need to take the distributor out. You can get a 14mm socket and extension through here and to get that bolt. So these runners, you might need to use both hands and spread them apart a little bit to get them over these studs, which is okay. These being multi-piece, there will be some flex in these headers, and then once they heat cycle, they'll relax into like their final position. So next up, I'll get the number 2 and 3 runner on here. I like to use anti-seize on these bolts just because it's dissimilar metals from a aluminum cylinder head and then steel bolts. What would Christmas be without a little bit of roller life? So I was just about to install this Toyota filter when I realized it didn't fit, and I was like, what the hell is going on? So this is the stainless unit. So the stainless ones should have all the upgrades or all the revisions. So this should clear it. So I did a little bit of research and I realized what happened. That oil filter, that oil sandwich plate is actually a front wheel drive one. So front wheel drive 4AG or MR2. So this thing sticks out a lot farther, and I'll show you in a second. Even my 4A Amsoil oil filter, yeah, can't get that in there. So this isn't the Martelius headers problem. When I did the product testing on this header, we designed the number 1 runner to fit on a 4A, a rear wheel drive 4A with the correct oil sandwich plate. So if we look at this, that's what's on the car, the front wheel drive one. That's what's supposed to come on an 86. And you can see from the picture, one's a lot taller than the other one. So I did some research. The Amsoil one almost fits, and this is 2 3/4 inches height. I got the gasket ID and OD, and I went on the Wix website to look up a product lookup. 3/4-16 threads. So these are the two that are probably have a chance of fitting. This is 1/4 inch shorter, and then this is only 2 inches tall. So this is the solution I want. We're gonna run a shorter filter on this guy, since sourcing the correct sandwich plate is gonna be really tough. So these two part numbers, it's Christmas, so I'm gonna go to the parts store tomorrow and hopefully they have these or something cross reference in stock. Alright, so after a lot of research, I found 2 filters that I think will work. So these are Napa gold filters. It looks like these are exactly the same as the Wix filters. If you put a 5 in front of this number, it's actually just the Wix branded, but yeah, these are solid filters made in America. There's a taller and a shorter one. This is about 2.5 inches tall. I'm gonna try the taller filter just because obviously there's more filtration inside this guy, but I'll stack up all 4 filters next to each other just so we can get a size comparison. So here's a size comparison: OEM Toyota, Amsoil, and then the 2 Napa filters. What I was looking for, this is about 2.75. This will barely clear. If I take the header off, put the filter on, put the header back on, this will clear, but installing this with the header on is impossible. The closest thing was a 2.5 inch tall filter. So let's try out this guy, see if he fits. Alright, so right there, yeah, installed this guy, no problem, clears the header. I'm good with this solution. The final solution would be to either get the correct rear drive oil sandwich or go completely aftermarket oil cooler kit. I would never put just the oil filter union, because I'd like these engines all to have an oil cooler on them. So this really short guy, maybe in emergency you have a 1st gen Martelius or you have some like exotic headers. This might be your interim solution. Time to install this guy. I like to put anti-seize on the slip fit section before I slide this guy in. So this guy will slip fit in like this. You may need to squeeze these two pipes together, which again, these are multi-piece, so they'll relax into their final position once all this stuff's heat cycled. And again, the anti-seize will help this guy slip on. You still may need to hit this with a dead blow hammer to fully seat these guys. So when I get these things fully seated, I'll do a measurement between those slip fit spring tabs, and then also when this guy's installed, I'll install the provided bung for the AF. Alright, I got the slip fit section on. This is an 8mm Allen, so I got the bung installed. When I slip fit this on, I still gave it a few light taps with the dead blow hammer just to make sure it's fully seated. And from center to center, it's just about 3 3/4 inches. These slip fit springs used to be a nightmare to install until I learned this zip tie trick. So what is the zip tie trick? You use 2 zip ties on each side of the slip fit spring to keep the spring compressed. And then you slip on one side, get your needle nose pliers out, and you should be able to just hang it over pretty easy. And then you grab your wire cutters and snip, snip. Alright, snip, snip, and there we are. Slip fit spring is installed. Alright, so installing the O2 sensor, I realized the wire is actually too short. So what I'm gonna do is splice in about 10 inches of wire. The reason that 10 inches is so that I have a place to tie this up over here so it doesn't run into the exhaust or run into the steering shaft. Alright, got the last 2 bolts in. Here's the header installed. Right. And I'll do one shot from the top. Alright, that's our Martelius Group A header install video. Thank you guys for watching. It's Christmas Day today, and I thought this would be a good time to announce that a couple weeks ago I officially quit my day job, so I'll be running the Autohaus full time now. But running the Autohaus isn't the only thing I'll be doing, but I have 2 more things that I'll be doing in tandem to the Autohaus that I think I want to announce later on the podcast. So one of those things is I'll be hosting 2 more podcasts, which is a plus and minus, right? On the plus, you'll get more content out of me. The minus is that I'm pretty sure the Autohaus podcast, I'm only going to be able to do 2 podcasts a month now, compared to a podcast every week like I have been doing for the past year. I have one more big announcement, and that's the one I'm going to save to announce on the podcast. I want to thank everyone's support this year, especially going into 2020, running the business full time. Repair and restoration work like this is the biggest revenue stream for the Autohaus right now, which means that I'll need to focus less time on media work, so like this video, the podcast, the Instagram. And unfortunately, that's just the reality of it. I mean, producing all this content takes time, takes a lot of time, and I'm not getting any revenue from it right now. So in what ways can we support the Autohaus and in turn support these cars and support the culture, right? There's a couple ways we can do this. It would help me out a lot if you would consider subscribing to my Patreon, which is in the link below. Even if you're $1 a month subscriber, which is a grand total of $12 a year, that actually really helps me out, because if I have this buffer room for income where I have a other source of revenue, so I don't have to worry about pushing so much physical labor, I would be able to do more media work. So more videos, higher quality videos. I could get other videographers and photographers more professional work in here for all the media content. I really don't want to cut the podcast down to 2 episodes per month, but that's an unfortunate reality of doing business if the media work becomes this time I have to allot with no revenue coming in to physically support the business. So yeah, I want to thank you guys again for the support. And again, please consider subscribing to the Patreon. You can buy merch at our website, cmautohaus.com. The link is below. Remember to like and subscribe. And then there's also some other like non-monetary ways you can support us. So even leaving a review and typing up something on any of the podcast channels, so like leaving a review on iTunes or Stitchers, that actually helps me out a lot too, just to spread the growth and awareness about the podcast, and in turn, our culture, right? So yeah, thank you guys again. Leave a comment, like and subscribe. See you guys next time, maybe even next year. Peace.